when these shocking bombshell allegations dropped near the end of January, and the lawsuit filed by Janel Grant against Vince McMahon, WWE, and John Laurinaitis. In regards to Vince McMahon, there'll be some people in the wrestling business. There's some people who, will defend Vince McMahon and say, well, hey, never had a bad interaction with him, treated me well, this, that, and the third. There's the people who will remain silent, and that's probably many people who are currently working working for the WWE, unless asked by the media. And then there's the people that are more outspoken people in the business, and they've it ranges from people who said we always knew that about Vince, never liked him, always thought he was kind of a bit creepy, or he was a bit of a bully, he was intimidating. But what was good to see was that people like Eric Bischoff and Bret Hart told it like it was. Especially Bret Hart, and Bret Hart just went from saying, hey, I no longer have any respect for Vince. I don't think I could even shake his hand if he extended his hand to me. It'd be too creepy. And then Eric Bischoff, he was a guy that did, in the end, even though he was at war with Vince, back in when there was Monday Night Wars, when, Bischoff ran WCW. But then Bischoff ended up gaining a lot of respect for Vince when he went to work for WWE under McMahon. But Bischoff was very open and honest on what came out in the lawsuit, and telling it like, it just told it like it was. It wasn't this bullshit kind of professional diplomatic type answer that Cena gave. Bischoff spoke, he pretty much, he wore his heart on his sleeve, and I give him credit for that. I was very much a Vince McMahon guy at one point. I really did look up to Vince McMahon and put him up on a pedestal. Just admired, just from his business acumen, how he carried himself. Always found him to be very entertaining, and just for everything with Vince, for what he had built, and being the reason that, I could look back at my childhood and all those fond memories I had of watching the Attitude Era going back from 2000, and then, even stuff from 2001 I thought was quite entertaining. So the first time round when this stuff came out about Vince McMahon and the payoffs and all that in June 2022, I was very much in denial. I was kind of living in denial about this whole thing, and I was still kind of like half kind of defending Vince in a way and trying to praise him. And with this video, I want to go back and just so you can see how I was at the time. This was around July time, and this was just after Vince McMahon stood down. And I had the title, I said, "Is Vince McMahon fucked?" Because I think a lot of us sensed that at the time, more and more was going to come out. This wasn't the end. And I think even when Vince McMahon did he came back in the merger, I think people still knew that this wasn't over. And I think to me, it was kind of almost like a thing that Vince was, he was living on borrowed time. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to play a brief clip of me reacting to myself, and you can see, guys, what I was saying at the time about McMahon. And so I'll just play this brief clip, and so you'll see there how I was, where I was at that time, July 2022.
Well, I mean, yeah, though, is Vince fucked, basically? Well, it's a tough one to say, to give a clear answer to, because, Vince, throughout the years, Vince is a survivor, McMahon is a survivor, and, he's prospered. And, it seems that all these situations that he's been in before, and it's the stuff to do with the federal government or whatever else, WCW kicking his ass, he always won, he got the last laugh in the end. I always remember that pay-per-view, Vengeance 2001, and Vince at the very start cut a promo, and he said, "He who laughs last laughs loudest." And that line, that always stuck out to me. I always remembered that line. And it's true, though. I mean, Vince does get the last laugh, But this one is a little bit different. And it's a little bit different because of the culture. It's a little bit different because, I mean, it goes right back to now, the Me Too movement. You know, I mean, you take the Harvey Weinstein, right? He had a freaking 80 women that he had sexually assaulted. Some rape, some it could be groping, some it could be kissing, some could be whatever. Grabbed her hand and got her to, I won't even get into all those details. It just, but Weinstein was a total just beast though, and a bully and a piece of shit. I don't think Vince is a total scumbag. I think Vince has character. I think he is there's a side of him that is a good guy, but then there is a side of him that is like the fucking devil incarnate. I think it was Jerry Briscoe that said in Vince McMahon's documentary that they did for McMahon. God, it was back about
2006 time.
Vince McMahon very much is Jekyll and Hyde, and that was, Briscoe is one of McMahon's closest, confidants, his closest friends. Him and Pat Patterson were probably two. I'm guessing McMahon's two closest friends, his best friends. I don't know, but he is very much. He's a strange one. I mean, there's a side of me that likes him and thinks he's a great guy and thinks just the character that he had to, being raised in a trailer park in North Carolina to go and really make something of himself, and the work ethic he has, like he's one of the hardest workers on the planet. I don't think that can be disputed. But then there is a side of him that's quite fucked up. There is a side of him that I don't know what it is when it comes to like the mind games and the manipulation and of talent and people that he's messed around over the years. You hear it, and it's a lot of people that he messes around with.
So there you have there's a brief 3-minute clip from that video from back in July 2022. It was like one of my first ever live streams. Only has about 53 views, but from there, so I was kind of like, I was half, putting over Vince McMahon there. And, I was saying, well, I feel he's a good guy, he has some character. It's hard for me to say that now, because I just feel he's more and more, it's just like, he's just more now, to me, more of a monster now. He doesn't seem like a very good person. Vince Russo was telling a story about how Vince McMahon just said to him one time out of nowhere, it was like, Vince, if you knew what I was really like, you wouldn't like me, And I remember some weird interview promo thing he did with JR back in 2001 or 2002 time, and he come off very tense, standoffish, and weird, and it's just, he's a funny one. But no doubt, a Jekyll and Hyde person. And, I was saying there that I thought maybe Vince could, I was saying there was a possibility he might survive it, but then I was also pointing out, how different the culture is now, which I still hold that opinion now. It's that, if this is 15 years ago and these allegations are coming out, could Vince clear his name and get away with it? Yeah, but I think, the culture's changed, the court of public opinion, and I don't know. I just don't know. But then, if he's going to have his day in court and he claims he's, that statement, via his lawyer that he's going to include his name. But I mean, everybody's going to say that type of thing, if they're, they don't want to own up to anything, that they're guilty if they actually are, but they're going to claim they're not guilty. But yeah, I mean, I had that video there. I said, is Vince McMahon fucked? I think for the most part, it feels like it, I think from how it is and with the community, people, wrestling fans, most people feel this isn't going to end up well for Vince McMahon at all. And, Bret Hart was one that felt very strongly about this, about saying, I don't care if people, will kick his head around the car park or whatever, saying that he's going to just be like a Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein. He'll always just be the there'll be just a punchline there with a joke about Vince and his way of being, like a predator, like Cosby and Weinstein were. And yeah, sadly, that's how it could end up, and it could be a case that his legacy will be destroyed. it's wow, gee. But Eric Bischoff though. Eric Bischoff's another one that he was very open. I was saying before, very open about the stuff about the with the McMahon lawsuit. And again, evil and sick doesn't do it justice. He's going by the allegations from the lawsuit. I imagine he read through the 67-page lawsuit. I don't know, would have Cena read through it? Probably not. Triple H, Paul Levesque? No. He just heard about it through Cody or whatever. But Bischoff, again, I give Bischoff credit. Bischoff might not always come off the best, but I give Bischoff credit for this, telling it like it is and being open. Because, Cena gave a bullshit answer. Orton gave a kind of half-arsed kind of attempt to defend him, but it's still time saying, fuck, it hurts my heart, whatever, which I thought, okay, fair enough. But I did appreciate what Bischoff had to say on this on his podcast, 83 Weeks with Conrad Thompson. So I will just play a short clip of this.
Because as Rock comes on the board, just a couple of days later, the lawsuit goes public. I know that names are out there now, but I'm still going to just leave that out. But we know that a victim has come forward, and I believe this is the very first tip-off the Wall Street Journal had during the summer of 2022, where all of this first started to come to light. But now,
the guy who likes to play games,
much more specific, way more specific information than any of us ever expected or imagined
or wanted.
I have to be honest with you, Eric. I've been in a bit of a head funk since Thursday. You actually sent me a screen grab of something on social media when I was at the airport, boarding my plane to Tampa. I quickly found the court document, downloaded it to my phone, and read it on the flight to Tampa. And every page I read, it seemingly got worse and worse. I don't know what I expected, but I didn't expect that. And I've really had a hard time sort of wrapping my head around it and reconciling my fandom and everything this affects in the entire space. I'm really struggling to find the words, Eric.
I am too. And it's one of the reasons why, just to be honest with our audience, I had a difficult time yesterday. We sat down to record this podcast, and I felt like a blithering idiot because I couldn't find the words to articulate or express how I was truly feeling, because I didn't know how I was feeling. I was nauseous, not physically, but I felt like I should be nauseous, let's put it that way. It's still difficult, and I think for me, and I've been able to kind of think through it knowing we were going to do the show again today, it's like, all right, you've got to be able to share how you feel about this. And I think here's the best I can come up with, man. At the core of this story, the very core of this story, and it was included in some of the information that I sent you, which was the court documents and the complaint. It wasn't anything, that anybody else didn't have.
No.
It's evil. And even that word doesn't really do it justice. But it's just sick, and I mean mentally, emotionally sick, and evil. And the victim, because I know all the haters are going to, oh, but he didn't say enough about her. I can't imagine what she's going to go through for the rest of her life. I'll pray for her that she finds the right spiritual guidance and mental health guidance, because this is never going to leave her. She will be carrying this memory around for the rest of her life.
She might never fully recover
and
psychologically.
I can't imagine that. I can't even try to imagine it, because self-preservation kicks in, and I force myself to stop thinking about it. And I feel so bad for the people that are innocent, because this is just such a dark cloud over everything that's WWE right now.
Yeah.
Now, I do believe that that's going to change. not sooner than later. It's going to change, but it's going to take time. But there are so many innocent people that are affected by this. And at the epicenter, obviously friends and family members, like close friends, close family members of the victims, as well as the McMahons. I mean, I'm friends with Shane. I think of Stephanie in a very high regard right now, and Linda McMahon. I mean, these are people that I've met and have worked with, and I've seen how they've treated others. And they're having to bear this as well.
The grandkids.
And the people that work there are so many people that we know, both of us know, that are there, that are working hard every day, that are good family people. I feel the same way. I've had thoughts cross my mind of like, maybe it's just time for me to walk away from all this. Maybe it's gotten to the point where I just don't want to be associated with it anymore. Now, fortunately, I know myself well enough to know that that's a fleeting moment. It's just kind of like the state of shock, I guess, so that I'm in, and wondering about some of the people that I know and love that work there, and wondering how they're dealing with it. I don't want to call them and ask them. I haven't talked to Bruce. I want to. We've exchanged a few texts, but they're processing right now. They're hopefully they're with the people that are closest to them, and they'll get through this too. We're all going to get through this. When I say we all, I mean wrestling fans and you and I, and trying to reconcile how we feel about all this. We're all going to get through it just fine.
Yeah, I suppose eventually that we'll all get through this stuff, you know. It's yeah. I mean, a few things with, you know, overall, you know, the company. I was just thinking about this, that, you know, I don't think it will affect business. You know, WWE business will be booming, I feel. I don't think it's going to be like the effects of what happened with the sex scandal in 1982, then the steroid scandal, and the business was pretty much in the shitter for like from 93 to 95. I think WWE's still going to be going strong. The only thing that might affect it is if it's, you know, with all this stuff with McMahon, the other people that are involved, you know, the unnamed people in the lawsuits over like the corporate executives and that, if other things start to come out about other high-up people, other people there in Vince McMahon's circle, then maybe that could potentially affect business. Stock price would go down quite a bit. But I still think WWE are going to be still thriving as far as business goes. They'll still be doing the big events, the premium live events, you know, the WrestleManias, the SummerSlams, and they'll be fine there. But it was just refreshing to hear what Bischoff had to say on this, and just his honesty, and just being very, very open about this. I get a little bit tired, and I think many people were tired of the sick, the sick politically correct responses that you get from you get from a lot of the John Cenas and the Randy Ortons of the world. But it was quite good though to just hear what Bischoff had to say, and just Bischoff was open about it. Like he didn't give a fuck. It's not like he's thinking, oh, I'm going to get a call back again to go to WWE, and not that he cares. And Bret Hart's the same. He's got his money. He's not waiting for the call either. So it was good for them for just saying how they feel, because there will be, let's face it, there will be some people out there that feel the same way that they do, but they're worried about getting that call. And, you know, and again, the people that defend Vince McMahon, Cena, the John Cenas, people like Kevin Nash, I get it. I get, in a weird way, there's some honor in what they do, but at the same time, they're wrong, because at the end of the day, they haven't thought about how this has affected another human being, you know, an innocent human being, Janel Grant, that, you know, was already going through hell, was already about to be bankrupt, or both her parents had died. So you still got to have empathy there for the victims, and they're just more about protecting their guy Vince. But yeah, that's my video though, guys. So feel free to hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment and let me know what you think on this. Do you feel that Vince McMahon's legacy has now been destroyed? But that's me for now, guys. Thanks a lot. Bye.